Capital Havana tonight for the start of his two-day official visit. The historic visit is a big step to strengthening ties to former foes.
The visit is the first by a U.S. president in 88 years. President Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro agreed in December 2014 to end an estrangement that began in 1959. Preparations for his visit are underway. Police have blanketed the streets of Havana, while public works crews fixed roads. In colonial Old Havana, welcome signs with images of Obama have popped up for his arrival. The two sides have restored diplomatic ties, signed commercial deals on telecommunications and scheduled airline service, and expanded cooperation on law enforcement and environmental protection. Obama and Castro will meet on Monday. He will also meet dissidents and attend a baseball game between the Cuban national team and the Tampa Bay Rays. Meanwhile, the Rolling Stones concert in Havana has been delayed for 5 days due to President Obama's visit. They are the first major international band to perform in Cuba and will be making history.
A lot of things happening this week, right? Yes, it is a big historical event, and it is a pleasure to bring this size show here and all of the stuff. It took a lot to get here, a lot of effort with the equipment and planning and all that with everybody, and yeah, it's a big event.
The Rolling Stones' music was previously banned by the communist government in Cuba, but the band is proud to be a part of history.
Latest on that story, we crossed to our correspondent Steve Mort live from Havana in Cuba. Good evening, Steve. Now, what time is President Obama expected to touch down in Cuba?
Yeah, he's set to arrive here at about 4:50 local time, so in about 4 hours or so for this historic visit. Of course, the first visit by a sitting U.S. president in some 88 years, and you can really sort of see it around the city, as your report mentioned, with signs popping up around the old city, Old Havana, where President Obama is set to do a walking tour. Just a few hours after he lands, he'll head straight to the embassy and meet with some of the embassy staff there. He'll meet Raul Castro on Monday, and that'll be really where the business starts taking place. And then he'll meet with some dissidents. That's the plan anyway. On Tuesday, he is not scheduled to meet with Fidel Castro, the 89-year-old former president of Cuba, who's been ailing over recent years. He is not scheduled to hold talks there. What we've heard from the foreign ministry here in Cuba is that internal changes within this country, political change, the issues of human rights, that kind of thing, will not be on the negotiating table when President Obama meets with Raul Castro on Monday. That will not be the case. They will in fact be talking, according to the foreign ministry, about diplomatic ties and on lifting the embargo between the United States and Cuba.
Now, Steve, you've just mentioned this embargo, and it's been quite a big talking point throughout the week as President Obama visits Cuba. Is lifting this embargo beneficial for both countries?
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. embargo is obviously going to be something which the two leaders will be discussing at length. In fact, what it requires is the Obama administration has taken several executive actions over the last few months since it was announced that the U.S. would be engaging in rapprochement with Cuba. However, the embargo itself is a piece of legislation that only the U.S. Congress itself can overturn. However, we have seen some developments, micro developments, if you like, over recent months. And in fact, just today it was announced that Starwood Hotels, the large U.S. hotel chain, had signed a contract with the Cuban government to begin opening hotels here in Cuba. But you know, we can really see the impact of the embargo around the place. You know, you just walk through the old city, and many of the buildings are tumbling down. A lot of the people here unable to get building supplies, the things they need to repair their buildings, the old cars sort of from the 1950s. You know, Cold War, before the Cold War, in fact. many old Soviet vehicles. People here just simply aren't able to obtain the parts that they need to sort of fix their cars up and enter the modern era of transportation, if you like. So really the embargo is the key thing for the Cuban government here. The Cuban government saying that if the US really wants to help the Cuban people, it shouldn't be talking about politics, it should be talking about economics.
Steve, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for that update. That was our U.S. correspondent Steve Mort live from Havana, Cuba. Now, Simon Burke is standing by with your sports news coming up.